Hello and welcome to Marriage for Better for Worse. I'm Eric O'Coin along with our host, Dr. Robert Moeller. This is the program where we answer your questions on marriage. And tonight, we're live, so anytime throughout the program you can pick up your phone and call the number on the screen and ask Pastor Bob your question on marriage. The number tonight live is 888-691-1075, and we'll be taking questions as soon as you call in with them. It's good to be with you tonight, Pastor.
Eric, wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, this is a landmark program. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's been a great week. We just celebrated Easter, and I'm sure that's been a wonderful time for all of us.
It has been, Eric, and you know, we Christians have a unique faith. We believe that we worship a man, a God, Jesus Christ, that his tomb is empty, that he rose from the dead. And when you think about that, the power that raised him from the dead, is the same power that raises marriages from the dead. Mm-hmm. It's the same power that renews love that's all but dead and buried or gone. It's the same type of resurrection power that gives new life where that seemed impossible. So really, this program is built around the reality and the truth, our faith that Easter is real.
Yeah. Well, again, as I said before, this is the live program, the first of 3 shows of the new season. Some of the shows are taped with viewers who've been prearranged to call in during the taped programs, but every third week we are live, like tonight. So anyone right now can call in immediately with your question. The number again is 888-691-1075, and we are waiting for your call. Our topic for tonight, I know, is one that will sadly hit home with a lot of viewers. It's how did I end up with an adulterous spouse? We know it's going to resonate with a lot of viewers because the number of calls and emails we get around this topic is considerable.
You know, Eric, that's probably the most common question that in all the years we've been doing this together that we've received is, what do I do now that my spouse is unfaithful? How did I get here? What next? Yeah. And so this evening, we want to address that a little bit later in the teaching section. And I think the answer may be a bit surprising to some people.
Yeah. Well, as we get started with questions tonight, I want to remind you Dr. Moeller's not a licensed psychologist, therefore he doesn't offer psychological advice. However, he does have an extensive pastoral and counseling background, and he's well qualified to offer practical and spiritual counsel using the Bible as a source of direction and wisdom. So we're going to get started now with our first call, and I believe tonight as we are live, Carmelita and Brian are on the line from Carpentersville, Illinois. Welcome to the program. Good to have both of you.
Thank you.
All right. Good to have you. Do you have a question for Pastor Bob tonight?
Yes. Basically, I'd like to know, how do we resolve conflict? We're always in confrontation with not trusting each other, thinking one another, being unfaithful. And when he accused me of cheating, I just blow up. And sometimes I even just say, yes, I've been cheating. I haven't. And I just want to resolve. But how do I resolve biblical?
Carmelita, a little bit of that broke up. Maybe you could repeat the last sentence or so for us. And is Brian there this evening as well?
Yes, he is.
How you doing?
Hey, Brian. Thank you for calling as well. We've heard Carmelita's question. Did you have one, or is it the same one?
Yes, we just want to know best way to resolve our issues from a biblical standpoint, because both of us are Christians and we're trying to live our life the right way, but we just keep running into problems with one another.
If I can ask you to, what's the number one thing you get stuck on?
The number one thing is just no communication. As far as our communication, we don't really understand how to communicate the right way with one another, and just want to learn a better way to communicate with one another and resolve all the issues, the irritation and being upset with one another for little things.
All right. Well, it's a great step forward to have you both call at the same time. We don't get that very often.
No, we don't.
We'll get one spouse or the other who calls in, but good for you that the two of you are doing this together, that's a healthy sign, actually. It means you're headed in the right direction. Well, let me just read to you something about communication from Ephesians chapter 4. If I can get there. In it, Paul is talking about relationships, and he says this: do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. Carmelita and Brian, the very first thing you have to decide is you're going to get rid of some of the things that you say. You're never going to say them again. Anything that's unwholesome. And that includes, maybe any names you would call one another, or any harsh language you might use, anything that wounds the other person. It says, let no unwholesome talk. So decide to begin with, I'm never going to say anything to the other person that has a barb or a knife or a sword in it. I'm not going to let any unwholesome talk come out of my mouth. Only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. Now, it's possible to have an argument and to build each other up rather than tear each other down. And what that means is that you're only going to say things to each other that build each other up. For example, you could say, I have too much respect for you, I have too much love for you to want to hurt you in any way. Now, let me give you something real practical here. One of the things that you can do is when you see that you have said something that upsets the other person, I want you right then to say, did I just say something or do something that upset you? And the other person will go, yeah, actually you did. Then you say, well, I think I know what it is, but maybe I don't. What is it that I said? Then the other person needs to repeat back the thing that was hurtful to them. Then you need to say, well, I apologize. I'm sorry for saying this in a way that was hurtful. How can I say what I just said in a way that wouldn't hurt you? Well, the person would say, well, you could change your tone of voice. You could tell me you love me first. You could say I respect you. You could do I wouldn't get upset if you said it this way. Well, then say, let me just say it that way instead. Let's start over. Let me put it the way I could, say it to you that won't be upsetting. Let me review here again. When you see you hurt your spouse, you ask them, have I hurt you? If they say yes, you say, I apologize for that. I don't want to do that. What did I just say or do that was hurtful? Well, this is what you said. Well, tell me how I could say that in a way that wouldn't be hurtful. Then the other person will tell you. Then you actually say it that way. You see, that way you can build each other up. That way you can communicate without getting into this descending spiral of anger and hurt and rejection and intensity. It says you have to build each other up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. We have to remember that when you two as believers argue and hurt each other, it's grieving the Holy Spirit. He's hurting because of that. So just start with Ephesians 4, verse 29 to the end of the chapter. Every day I want you two to read that, and then I want you to do what I've said in terms of talking to each other. And if a big fight gets started, Pastor Bob said we can't do that. He said nothing unwholesome, only what can benefit each other. Now, what did we just say or do that hurt each other? Let's get that out. Let's forgive each other. Let's show each other what the other person can say that wouldn't hurt each other and go from there. I call it a circuit breaker. If you practice that, your relationship's going to improve, and pretty soon you're not going to be scared to talk about the truth with each other because it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah. I remember in one of the many, many, many programs we've done together, you threw out a piece of advice that I thought was so helpful. You said, never use two phrases. The first one is, you always, ... whatever, or you never, ... Eliminate both of those because it's just impossible. No one always does something, and no one never does something. And if you just look out and are careful to eliminate those two little phrases, you're well on your way to better communication.
Well, and Eric, along that line, I don't think you should ever use the word you and point your finger, Y-O-U. you are such, you are whatever. Instead say, I felt disappointed,
Right.
ashamed, hurt when you said or did this. Tell the other person what they said or did and how it made you feel. I felt this way. That's not an accusation. That's an observation. And that keeps the intensity and temperature level at a place where it should be.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can squeeze in one more call on this live segment tonight. Craig is calling from Griffith, Indiana. Welcome to the program. Good to have you with us. And do you have a question for Pastor Bob?
Yeah, I recently ended up getting divorced, and we kind of went in that spiral that you were just talking about, downward spiral for the last few years, and my wife went and filed for divorce, and it's been 6 months now, and I love her still, and I want to try to work something out, but she doesn't want to seem to have anything to do with that, and I'm just we're both Catholic, and she's devoutly Catholic, and there's no real real reason for an annulment. So I don't want to end up spending the rest of my life alone, and I still want to be in the church. So I want to find some way to get back into her heart. But it's like she doesn't see the possibility, and I keep saying all things are possible with God, but she doesn't seem to want to believe that it's possible that we could be happy together or in love again. Because she said, I just don't have that loving feeling, and I'm confused, and I don't really know what to do.
Okay. Craig, I'm sorry to hear that. That's obviously very painful what's happened. Let me suggest this to begin with. Have you asked her what it was specifically in your marriage that caused her the most distress or the most pain? Did she ever tell you that?
Oh, I never really asked specifically, but she would, be complaining about little things and kind of belittling me, and I would start to get angry and, start yelling and cursing and, calling her names. And I think that's because, a lot of times it said, well, you shouldn't have been so mean to me, because it's like, I asked for forgiveness, but she just doesn't seem to be able to do that. And it's like, you shouldn't have been so mean to me. And that's, so I don't love you anymore. I don't have that feeling. So, it's your fault because you shouldn't have been so mean to me.
Okay, Craig. One of the things that's important to understand about women is how important words are to them. Men pay a lot more attention to action, behavior. Like, we evaluate our relationship with other men by their attitude toward us, or, basically, do they show us respect or not? But women are different. Women particularly, God gave a very keen awareness of words. Words, I say, are little pieces of their soul, where it's not really the same with men. And so when we use swear words, harsh words, loud words with women, those words are amplified, almost dozens of times over what they would be to us. A man can yell at another man or say something derogatory. In a lot of cases, we just roll it off our back and say, yeah, whatever. But with women, they take it to heart, because God designed them to be verbal, and words are so important to them. So what I really think you need to do is go back to her and say, I really want to apologize to you. I did not understand the female heart or the female soul. I did not understand that words are like arrows, that reckless words, pierced your heart. And I want to apologize for that. When I got upset or when I got angry, it was because I felt hurt or rejected or alone, something. And that's not an excuse, it's only an explanation. So here's what I'm willing to promise going forward. That instead of getting mad at you and saying harsh words to you and raising my voice, I'm going to tell you instead that I'm just sad, that I'm lonely, that I'm not feeling like I matter much to anybody. Because that's really what was going on when you got angry. You see, hurt is the most basic of human emotions, which causes pain. And pain, if it's not resolved, leads to frustration. And if frustration isn't involved, it leads to anger. So your anger was really based on a hurt in your life that maybe you weren't in touch with. But Craig, if you will begin, it's called humility, is what I'm talking about. Where people have been verbally abusive or verbally injurious of other people, there's only one way to win them back, and that's to humble yourself. And that's to admit what I said and did was wrong because I was hurting and I was trying to protect myself and my hurt. From now on, I'm just going to tell you that I'm hurt or that I'm feeling rejected or I'm feeling whatever you are, worthless. And I'm going to ask you to care about me rather than, fight with me. You start talking to her like that, she's going to know something's changed. She's going to know that God is doing something in your heart and you're becoming a different person. And next time you do feel the urge to get angry or the compulsion to say something, just remember, I think the word halt. Hurt, angry, lonely, or tired. And just tell her which of those you are and ask her to care about that and to help you through it. And the more you do that instead of shouting or name calling or whatever, the more she's going to respond to you. So there's a chance to reconcile this marriage, but you're going to have to humble yourself and admit where you were wrong. And understand that words, reckless words, Proverbs says, are like a thorn bush. They wound and they leave scars, particularly in women. And once she knows you realize that, she may begin to consider giving you a second chance, Eric.
And unfortunately, that kind of response and behavior is a learned thing. It's often
Absolutely.
picked up from, he may have seen his parents do that, or that was a way it was modeled to him. But it can be unlearned, as you've said, and by humbling himself.
Well, anger is a masking emotion. It masks the true hurt, pain, or frustration. And in our American culture, among men, it's considered macho or it's considered manly or whatever. To be angry or is to be tough. When in fact, in a marriage, no, real strength comes from being able to admit the truth. I'm hurt, I'm lonely, I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's all humility.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to take a few more questions in just a bit. When we return, Pastor Bob's going to give some of his thoughts on the question, how did I end up with an adulterous spouse? We'll be right back.
TLN is a donor-supported station, and programs like you just watched are made possible by viewers like you. To donate, please go to tln.com/donate or call us at 630-801-3857.
Welcome back. As I mentioned at the top of the program, we're live tonight, and in just a couple of minutes, Pastor Bob's going to be answering more of your questions. You might want to jot down the number and give us a call. It is 888-691-1075. You can also email us tonight at any time at marriage@tln.com. As you know, we often answer email questions on the program as well. And if there's one problem that seems to come up more often than any other via the email or the phone, it's the one about unfaithfulness on the part of a spouse. And that's the topic of our teaching tonight. No one ever expects their true love is going to cheat on them, do they, Pastor Bob?
No, if they did, I doubt they'd get married, would they, if they saw that coming? And yet it does happen.
Yeah.
So I want to answer the question, how did I end up with an adulterous spouse? I'm not going to cover tonight every possibility and, every explanation. I'm going to choose one, though, that I'm finding remarkably consistent, one that's true in virtually all the cases of adultery that I run into. And it's something that many people never really stop to consider. You see, there are few experiences in life more painful than discovering your spouse has been unfaithful. I've had people tell me it would have been easier had they died than to learn that they've been unfaithful. The pain is actually that high. Amidst the confusion, the betrayal, and heartbreak comes the inevitable question, how did I end up with a cheating spouse? Well, there may be, and indeed there is numerous reasons. But let me offer one that I seldom hear offered, that maybe is seldom considered. And it's this: you engaged in premarital sex. I know I'm not speaking to 100% of the viewers who've had an unfaithful spouse, but I'm talking to a very, very large percentage, I believe. You see, the issue is actually one of character, isn't it? Someone who is willing to engage in sex before marriage becomes a high risk to engage in sex outside of marriage. Are you following me? Someone who pressured you, someone who coerced you, someone who pleaded with you, someone who sent the signal that they truly needed you to be sexually intimate with them, that same person who found that, you know, the real thrills in life are outside the fences of marriage, well, once they get married, they come often to the same conclusion. And the issue becomes character at this point. The same lack of character producing premarital sex also produces extramarital sex. In one sense, the clock ends up ticking on a marriage where premarital sex was a part of the run-up to marriage. Now, not in every case is it going to lead to adultery. There are undoubtedly many listening tonight who were intimate before marriage and have been faithful since then. I recognize that. But among those who have had an unfaithful spouse, this pattern seems to be almost universally true, that premarital sex leads to extramarital sex. And if this was true in your marriage this evening, you need to ask God's forgiveness for that lack of character. And don't make the same mistake again. You see, it's not always possible, or at least it doesn't always happen, that adultery is forgiven, reconciled, and that a couple comes back together again. And I have seen marvelously so many examples of that kind of reconciliation, and I believe it is God's preferred will and choice that a couple reconcile and stay together. But in some cases, it doesn't happen. And if you have been the victim of a cheating spouse, what I can offer you tonight is do not make the same mistake. If you did make it in your first marriage, don't make it in any future relationships, which is to be intimate before marriage. Should you remarry, resolve to marry a person of character who is committed to purity both before and after marriage. How do you know that they're committed to purity? Because they will not ask, pressure, nor will they be willing to engage in premarital intimacy with you. They will say, no, we're going to save this for our honeymoon. We're going to save this for our wedding night. And to hear someone say that and mean it means you have found a person of character. And it means that you can trust them more than most, that once you do marry, they will be faithful to you. In Ephesians 5, chapter 3, there are some words that can save so much heartache. But among you there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity, because these are improper for God's holy people. And so going forward in your life, take Ephesians 5:3 to heart, and you be a person of character so that you can attract a person of character.
You know, Bob, it's remarkable to me that you have come to this conclusion based on the many, many couples you have counseled in this area. And this isn't just something you read, this is from your own observation in counseling with couples.
Eric, there are some exceptions, and I grant those, but this is basically the rule. And it began to dawn on me that the trajectory towards adultery was set long before the people ever said, I do. And that's important to remember, so that you can confess and have that forgiven and reset the trajectory of your marriage while there's still time. Or if you're in a place where someday you will remarry, you don't make the same mistake a second time.
Yeah. Well, coming up, we're going to be taking your questions, but before we go to break, we have something very important to talk to you and share with you. Pastor Bob, last few weeks we've been talking about a very important opportunity, I believe, that has been given to us on the program to raise the necessary funds to assure our continuation for at least one more year.
Absolutely. I want to speak candidly tonight to our viewers. I want to thank you for the way you support this program, for your loyalty, your dedication, for the fact that we know week after week you're there with us, supporting, praying for us, in every way possible to see marriages saved and hearts healed. But there's something more we need you to do, and that is to become a financial partner of Marriage for Better, for Worse. I want to encourage you this evening, if you've never made a donation before to this program, tonight, that you do that. $5, $10, $20, whatever it might be, could really mean the future of whether we're able to stay on the air or not. For 18 months, we were in reruns because we did not have the funds for the production of this program. But TLN has taken a step of faith to start a new season, and we're believing that God is going to speak to you tonight to give a donation, to become a friend and partner of this program, that the Lord might use it in other people's lives. Eric, tell us how people could make that donation.
Well, you know, Bob, also, by the way, we've already received at least 25 or more people have called in or gotten in touch with us and begun to make their donations, and several of them were actually making a pledge to continue a monthly. That's amazing. Wonderful. But the ways you can give, of course, is by telephone. Call toll-free 866-868-7720. That's 866-868-7720. Or you can give online at tln.com, and you can go to the marriage program page and then click on the big red button there, and you'll be taken to a place where you can fill in the information to make your pledge. Or you can give by mail. You can just write to us at tln/marriage at 2880 Vision Court, Aurora, Illinois, 60506. We are looking forward to hearing from you. It's vital that we hear from you, and we thank so many of you that have been calling and writing and letting us know what a blessing the program has been. Well, throughout the rest of the program, we're going to you'll be seeing two numbers on the screen. One of them is the live question line. The other is the donation line. Make sure you're calling the right line when you make your call. Coming up next, Pastor Bob's going to answer your questions right here live on the marriage program. The number is 888-691-1075. That's the number to call for the question, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to go right to the phone line so we can get your calls in and give Pastor Bob a chance to answer. We have Jane on the line in California. Hi, Jane. Welcome to the program, and could we have your question?
Hi. I like to lead by example for my husband and I to walk with Jesus, but how can I do that if I can't get it right myself?
Okay. I got to quickly ask you a question. Where is it that you struggle the most walking with Jesus?
Everywhere.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty. God can work with that, Jane, I'll tell you. You know, the essential thing to walking with Jesus starts with meeting with Him every day. It starts with you the very beginning of the day, before, you know, the sun comes up or too much of the day gets going, where you meet before Him and say, Jesus, I can't do life without you. I can't act like you, talk like you, speak like you on my own. I need you. I need your Holy Spirit. So Jesus, I have a throne in my heart, and either I can be sitting on it today or you can be sitting on it. And I want you to sit on it. Would you, Jesus? I give you the throne of my life to control my mind, emotions, will, reactions, whatever. Number two, now you need to meet with Jesus. You need to fill your heart and your mind with His Word. And that means that every day you need to spend, I would suggest 5 chapters of the Scriptures. 1 in the Old Testament, 2 in the New, 2 in the Old, 1 in the New, 2 of the Old Testament, 1 in the New, plus reading Psalms and Proverbs, 1 chapter of each. And that's going to fill you with the Word of God so that His wisdom and His insights and His truth will just take hold of your life. And then I want you to practice what someone calls spiritual breathing. The minute you know that you've blown it, that you haven't acted, talked, or walked like Jesus, you confess it. Lord, I agree that I just did something I shouldn't. I breathe it out. I ask you to take it away. I breathe in your Holy Spirit, and I want you now to correct this in me. Now, those are 3 things you can do. Meet with Jesus, read his word, and then practice spiritual breathing. Call me back sometime, will you? So that we can decide and learn whether that made a difference in your life. Thanks so much.
Wow, that was so fundamental, basic and simple, but wow, that's powerful for all of us.
It's something we need to all do every day.
Yeah. All right, we have another caller on the line. I think it's Jill in Michigan City, Indiana. Hi, Jill. Welcome to the program, and what's your question for Pastor Bob?
Yes, my question is, what should I do if I found some explicit text in my husband's phone? I don't want to confront him about them yet, but I'm just like, I get an uneasy feeling about him. So what should I do?
I think I can answer that. You need to confront him. You need to show him this and say, what is this? Who is this being sent to? Who sent this to you? I know you don't want to. Who does want to get into an uncomfortable situation? But the Bible has a basic principle, and that is, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The only way you can be free of worry, free of concern, or free of the possibility of your marriage coming apart is if you face this head on. You know, we just finished Easter, and I'm struck again by Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. When he was done praying, he woke up the folks. He said, come on, we're going to meet my betrayer. We're going to go face him. We're going to meet these soldiers with lanterns and clubs. We're going to hide behind a tree here somewhere or a rock. Let's go meet them. Jesus met his problems head on because he had confidence in God who was watching over him. You need to meet this head on. And if you're having trouble with that, well then, maybe you and the pastor or you and a Christian counselor need to sit down, but you need to face this head on. This problem isn't going away, and it isn't going to get any easier by not dealing with it. I'll tell you about my own life. The problems that I avoid end up costing me much more than the problems that I face. And that principle is true in life, Eric.
It certainly is. Time will not make that one better.
No.
All right, let's go to another call. We're running through a bunch of them tonight. Frank is on the line in Joliet, Illinois. Hi, Frank. We welcome you. And what's your question? Hi, Frank. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
No, I think we lost him. All right, let's see. Do we have Sophia in Carroll Stream? No.
Maybe we still have Frank.
No, I guess not. All right, maybe we have Frank. Are you there, Frank? No,
I guess not.
We're having a great time. Sometimes the phone lines actually get so busy we lose track of the calls. But I wanted to go back to the discussion that you had tonight on the teaching segment, because that is such a powerful area that I think our viewers need to kind of hear that again, what you said, when they are faced with that question, why and how did I end up with an unfaithful spouse?
Eric, the seeds of adultery, the genesis of it, is planted much, much sooner than before it actually occurs. That's one of the things I'm observing. That the beginnings of it were put in place the minute you got involved with someone with a lack of character, or you displayed a lack of character by being intimate. And there's a way to fix that, of course, which is to repent of that and turn from that. But I want to just say that, particularly for young people that may be watching or those that are engaged, listen, the future of your marriage is absolutely determined in many ways by what you do before you're married.
That's so true. All right, I think we have an anonymous caller on the line. Let's go to that right now. Welcome to the program.
I love my husband very much. We've been married for 20 years. We're both almost 50. We have children and grandchildren, and we've loved each other with all our hearts for all these years. We've been through everything, but he's just always putting me down, telling me I'm fat and stupid and ugly, and I just don't know what to do. I've gained about 90 pounds from surgeries I've had. My husband keeps telling me he wishes I was thin again and that he wants someone young and more attractive to me. He has a friend that's Asian and young, and he told me he finds her more attractive than me. I've seen her on his phone. He has no pictures of me on his phone, but he has pictures of this girl. He always promised me he would never cheat on me, and I would never cheat on him. That's just one thing that we promised each other that we would never do. He leaves the house a lot, and I think he's cheating on me, and I don't know what to do. I pray. I love your show. I've even told him about your show, but he's went through a midlife crisis. He thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, which is what I told him. Yeah, you can have someone younger, but he's still going to grow up and be just as big as the meg as I am.
Okay.
And,
well, I want to just say this because we're short on time tonight, if I can. I don't want you to believe the lies that you don't have value or that you're unworthy of being loved because you gained some weight. You know something, by this time in your marriage, real love ought to be based on something far different than your appearances. You know, give him another 20, 30 years. I don't know how old he is right now, 40 years, and he's going to be in a nursing home. And if he lives that long, his physical attractiveness and all the other features that he might be proud of are probably going to be gone. And you need to ask him, who's going to come and feed him? Who's going to come talk to him? Who's going to come and remind him of his name when he can't remember it anymore? This other woman, she's going to do that? Listen, if she was willing to break up one marriage, why is she going to be faithful to another? And so you need to just, confront him with the fact that his attitude and his behavior at this point is very selfish and very immature, and that you're rejecting the lies that you lack value and that you aren't attractive because you've somehow changed in physical features. You take a stand in that, and I believe that kind of strength on your part could begin to create some respect on his part, which could begin to change his attitude.
Good advice. All right, we'll be back with more right after this.
TLN is a donor-supported station, and programs like you just watched are made possible by viewers like you. To donate, please go to tln.com/donate or call us at 630-801-3857.
Welcome back. We usually spend the last segment of the program answering more viewer questions. Tonight, though, it's going to be a little different because I have an announcement to make. I am going to be retiring. So tonight's actually my last night as the co-host of Marriage for Better for Worse. Bob, it's been a long run.
Eric, it's been a wonderful run.
It certainly has.
To hear those words, your last evening, it's a difficult thing for us all to hear. You've just done such a splendid job.
Well, thank you. It's been probably the highlight, and for me, a wonderful way to kind of bring to, at least at this point, an end to the ministry that I've been involved in here at TLN, and even before that at TV 38. Because every week, starting back in January the 4th of 2005, that's a lot of shows.
It is, and you know what? We wanted to express our appreciation to you this evening.
Oh my.
For all these years. I'm speaking to our viewers tonight, and I think I'm speaking on your behalf. Eric, we'd like to read something to you here. It says, with heartfelt gratitude to an outstanding co-host, Erica Coyne. We thank God for the tremendous contribution you've made to the success of Marriage for Better for Worse. Your on-air professionalism, godly wisdom, and Christ-like heart have touched countless viewers across the world. We shall always be grateful for the privilege of ministering with you. With love in Christ, the management, host, staff, and production team of the Total Living Network, April 2012. Eric, wow. I want to present this to you, with our most sincere gratitude to God for the true gift you've been to all of us in the production of this program. And our prayers go with you for a very joyful and what I know will be a busy retirement.
Yeah, I've often said I don't really believe in retiring from God's work. I'm retiring from full-time employment and activity here at TLN, and the family Roz and I are going to be, hopeful, Lord willing, moving down to Florida. It just so happens our daughter and family are located in the area that we've been looking at for a number of years, and so That's a little added blessing. But I have a hunch that when we get down there and get established, we'll certainly look for opportunities to still serve the Lord and be of value to the kingdom.
Oh, absolutely. Eric, viewers might not know this, but you've recorded albums.
Yeah.
You've been involved in Christian radio. You've been involved in Christian television with some of the real legends and pioneers in this particular work throughout the years. And you know something I so appreciate is that you have come through all of this rather amazing career with true humility and true integrity. And I believe that says so much about who you are, that for all the opportunities you've had to be in front of a camera and involved in some very high-profile ministries, your heart has always been to serve Christ, to be an authentic, real person, and to maintain this godly integrity. And for me, your example is a real encouragement.
Well, thank you. I remember as a 16-year-old kid when I first sensed the Lord's unmistakable calling to ministry. That was the prayer of my heart, that I would be pliable in His hands and used wherever and however He desired I would be used. It was never about fame and fortune in the ministry. It never is, really. But I always wanted to just be wherever He wanted me to be, and if I knew that, I'd be happy and content. And that's still my Rosalind and I have said many times, you know, we have our plans and our druthers and ifs and so forth, but ultimately, if we sense the Lord is leading in a certain direction, that's always been the prayer of our heart, that we would be sensitive to that and follow that.
Well, and I want to thank you as well, Eric, through the years for just the friendship that we've enjoyed. And doing this program has just been a delight. And every week it was just so easy to sit down in this chair knowing that someone was watching my back.
Well, you've got, it's going to continue to be watched, because right now I want to introduce our viewers to the brand new co-host of the program. His name is Cisco Cotto. Welcome, Cisco. Come on right in.
It's
just
great to
make
be here.
yourself at home. Good to have you.
Thank you.
When did you get the call, as it were, and find out that you were going to be sitting in the chair that I'm sitting in right now?
Yes, that you're very ably keeping warm for me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, it was just about a week or so ago. I had talked with Bob and the staff here at TLN for several weeks, and I went through a tryout and an audition process, and then they gave me the phone call and said, we're bringing you on board. And it was really great. I'm really flattered and honored.
Well, you know, for anybody that watches in the Chicago area especially, your name is certainly well known. You've been very active in both secular and Christian radio. And how do you guys relate? Did you know each other before?
No, we didn't, but I have a feeling that there is going to be a rapport there. You know, no one replaces Eric, but you don't replace friendships. No. Rather, God brings someone else to fill a unique role and to move the program on and in the direction, and I think that's certainly what Cisco is going to do for us, is take the program to some places that God wants us to do in the future. And I very much admire Cisco's abilities, and he is a pastor. We even found out we share the same denominational background. So I think that this is a God thing, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, this show has so much in common with radio, with the interaction of the viewers. You know,
well, we've said many times, right? It's basically a radio show on television, you know, a call-in show. Quickly give our viewers a little snapshot of Cisco Cotto.
Oh yeah, for about 10 years, a little more than 10 years, I've been on Chicago radio, as you mentioned, Eric, both in secular and Christian media. But about 8 years ago, God led me very clearly to Moody Bible Institute to work on a master's degree, a Master of Divinity degree. I had no idea why. I had no aim to go into full-time ministry. But then a year ago, he very clearly gave me a burden for planting a church, starting a brand new church. And so I'm working with a team to do that in the community where I live. It's Oak Park, which is the first community west of the city of Chicago. And so I'm a full-time church planter, which is just amazing. It's hard work, but it's so wonderful. I mean, God's just blessing it. And so I'm doing that, and then dabbling in radio and TV a little bit as well. I'm married, 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old girl, and a 1-year-old boy, and they're just handfuls, but wonderful handfuls. Yeah, they're great.
Do you have any, between the two of you, any thoughts or ideas in any change in direction in the program, or will you?
Well, one of the things we're doing now, because we're not live every week, is that we are contacting people to call in the day we tape so they can talk to us live. This is the first time we've really tried that, and we've already taped several shows, and we're finding that to be a really an arrangement that works very well, and that's allowing us to be much more efficient in the production of the program.
And it's a great opportunity for listeners who ordinarily would be stuck hanging on the line because there are so many callers to have an opportunity to get their question on the air.
And by the way, as we wrap up now and have to leave, I just want to remind you, you can call and make your pledge on the phone line to donate. You can call. There will be somebody at the phone for the next 15-20 minutes after the program, but really you can call anytime 24/7, and someone is always there, or there is a recording that you can give your information. They'll get back to you, and we certainly want to take your donation. It'll mean so much to us. Well, as we wrap up, I'm going to have to say goodbye. It's been wonderful. I am so thankful to all of you who have supported the program, and I'm thankful to God for allowing me to be a part of it. It's been wonderful. And Bob, I'm going to miss seeing you every week.
Likewise.
But I'm going to be watching. So thanks for being with us. And Cisco, thanks for having the courage to join us. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. The program you just watched is made possible by viewers like you. We would like to thank you for your continued support. To donate, please go to tln.com/donate or call us at 630-801-3857.